Greetings, programs, and welcome back to The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening. And this episode, we are going to just blast through the first dungeon of the game. As you would expect, Tail Cave here is the first dungeon, so it's more a tutorial for how things work than it is an actual challenge. But, it is still, it's actually a lot of fun once you learn it, to see just how quickly you can run through here. Now, at some point actually, you'll see here in a little bit, this dungeon does something really nasty, where they actually put a bombable wall in it for, one of the game's side collectibles. And you already wouldn't have the bombs this early in the original version, and in this version it takes even longer to get the bombs. Let's see, this way. And in here we have our first instance and first type of Stalfos, as I get my butt kicked by the bats. Or, Keese, I believe they're technically called in Zelda. I used to know all these names by heart, because I actually have the, strategy guide to the original version of the game. But, maybe after all these years, a few things have changed names too, I'm not sure. Yeah, as you can see, at least the white skeletons run away from you as you try to attack them. As well as you get something I kind of wish Zelda did more often. These little guys are actually tiny versions of the dungeon's boss, which I've just always found that really funny. Also, interesting fact, yeah, this game has the different colors of rupees in it, whereas the original, just being a black and white game, as you'd expect, just had, it just had a rupee. Anytime you found one, it was just a gray rupee. And, yeah, as you see over there, is the wall we can't get through. If I can keep things timed right here to run through here. Oh, and up here we have the first of many owl statues. They were this game's version of the hint stones. In the original version of the game, these were actually just stone tablets that had a chunk missing out of them. Then on the Game Boy Color remake, they became owl statues. Which I guess makes a little more sense, as you're able to get multiple hints throughout one dungeon just from finding one beak. So it wouldn't make sense if it was the old way. So I will give them that on the change. Also, yes, we have our first of many not Zelda enemies in a Zelda game down here. We have Goombas. And if I can do it right here, anytime you drop onto a Goomba's head, it's actually a guaranteed heart. Or most of the time a guaranteed heart. The strategy guides and everything officially released by Nintendo say it's always a heart. I've had plenty of times where I did not get a heart though. But 99% of the time you get a heart when you hit those guys. And here we get the most defining feature of this game, the Rock's Feather. this game is one of the few games where you got to jump on purpose. And so yeah, you actually get little side-scrolling platform sections in this game. Let's take these guys out really quick. Or get hit and get knocked down to the ladder again. Come here. Go down the hole. Okay, and just a cool thing they added. You've always been able to jump and attack in like all versions of this game, but in this one, they actually added a new animation of a little vertical slice when you do it, which is just a really, really nice touch. And yeah, we are actually almost done with this dungeon. It really is that short. Also, sorry if I get hung up on corners often. It's the one complaint I have with controlling this game. Since it is grid-based, I would like to be able to use the D-pad. But, as far as I can tell, there is no way for me to tell it to use the D-pad. And as you've been hearing, that is a little tone for a key in the room, as well as over on the right side, you get an icon this time, which is pretty nice. Again, because you can't always have sound when you're playing your games, and so they actually give you a visual cue as well as the tone, which again, it's really appreciated. There's just so many little quality of life tweaks in this version. They take what was already one of my favorite games and make it that much better. And up here we have the biggest pain in the butt of the original version of the game. Yeah, in order to beat these guys, you have to get all three of them to have the same symbol on them. Thankfully, they change a lot slower in this version of the game compared to the original. In the original, they flashed almost constantly, and good luck actually getting all three of them to match. And in that chest, we got the beak, which means we can run over to these statues, pop in the beak, and here it's just telling us that if you let the spiny guys hit your shield, they flip over. Alright, so here we have our first mini-boss, who is somehow far less intimidating in this version of the game compared to the original. A funny story, when I was a little kid, actually playing, the old version of this game for the first time, trying to actually go through dungeons and everything, the music that played for the mini-boss actually freaked me out when it started, and I dropped my Game Boy and died. It's the one thing that I feel is a little bit missing in the remixes here. The old game had like little MIDI electric guitar music in it that was just really cool for the boss fights. And speaking of boss fights, here we have the first proper boss, who somehow talks. Yeah, the bosses in this game tend to talk to you. And these bosses actually caused a bit of a confusion for me for a long time, in that in Link's Awakening, these are not just called bosses, these are specifically in the official material called nightmares. Which means I went on a very long time calling every boss in any Zelda game a nightmare. And this guy is actually harder than he was in the original game, because in the original game, you could just keep hitting his tail every time he started moving again. Here, he actually will, like, close up his tail, so you can't. as well as these little cracked platforms here, were not there. You only had this arena area. And so we're supposed to go up there and get the dungeon's, you know, main collectible, the first of the siren instruments, but really quick, I'm gonna fall down here and show you the most gruesome thing in any Zelda game. These were actually here in the original version as well. This, however, is new to this version. So when you get knocked down, you actually get a health refill, which is kind of nice. And then you get hit by the spike trap. But we have the first of our instruments. And I have always loved just that little bit of music you get from every instrument as you collect it. The music in this game is very, very special and very nostalgic to me, because this is what I think of when I think of Zelda music, because I've played this game since I was a wee babby, so to speak. And this music just makes me happy instantly. So, I'm going to deal with the owl one more time. Where he just kind of admits that that's an owl and he didn't think I was even real until I walked out of the dungeon with that. Tells me to go get the rest of them and tells me to go north through the swamp. Which we will do in the next episode. So, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you guys next time.